Next on Hard Copy, Elvis, the story of a legend, from fame and fortune to despair. I, Elvis, Day 2.
Spellbound perfume from Estee Lauder. Now this 14-piece makeup collection, a $90 value, is yours for just $18.50 with any Estee Lauder fragrance purchase. This special offer is yours now at Nordstrom.
It's the Great Garth Giveaway from KOIN TV and Couple Radio. 2 winners will receive a pair of tickets to see Garth Brooks June 18th, Super Stretch Limo, courtesy of Prestige Limousines, and dinner for 2 at Atwater's. 2 Garth words will be given each day for 5 days, May 11th through 15th. Listen to the Couple Waking Crew mornings for the first word of the day, and watch Ed Whalen on Newsroom 6 Sports for the second. Mail your 10 Garth words to this address. First 2 correct entries randomly drawn win. Enter the Great Garth Giveaway.
Listen to this. Depend products with Absorb-Lock Plus are truly making a difference. Dear June,
when the local daycare asked for help, I thought, I can do this. But June, it wouldn't have been possible without Depend.
And double-layered Absorb-Lock Plus makes this our best protection yet. The top layer absorbs, the quilted layer locks liquid away.
I knew I could give something to those kids, but I couldn't believe how much they gave me.
Get back into life.
The way most grocery stores price their goods, they expect you to run to save a penny here, a penny there. But at Fred Meyer, you can shop whenever you want and save on the products you need, like Healthy Choice frozen dinners and pasta entrees, or new Ultra Slim Fast entrees. Summer baking and canning is better with C&H sugars. Stock up on Palmolive dishwashing liquid that's gentle to your hands. And save with over 10,000 lower prices every day. Fred Meyer, for people who love great food and lower prices.
You're watching KOIN TV, Portland, Vancouver.
Tonight on Hard Copy. The Elvis nobody knew. The private demons that drove him. The woman's love that eluded him. His historic meeting with the Beatles, who would dethrone him. His bizarre sermons to the groupies who worshipped him. The inner torture of a man in a world he couldn't face. The true story, Day 2, a world television event, continues. A special presentation for Tuesday, May 5th, 1992.
Hello and welcome to Day 2 of our special presentation, I, Elvis. Good evening, I'm Terry Murphy.
And I'm Barry Nolan. It is the boy in Elvis Presley that the world has come to love as much as the music, the man, or the king. Elvis, the boy who will never recover from the loss of his mother Gladys, who will fail in marriage to Priscilla, and who will not survive the relationship with his girlfriend, Linda Thompson.
Publicly, he has exploded on the music world of the 50s, revolutionized its style, become the heartthrob of millions of girls. Yet by the 60s, as the biggest box office draw here in Hollywood, working mostly from this Paramount studio lot, the seeds of his eventual destruction are already being sown. August 16th, 1977. Elvis Presley will not survive the next 5 hours. He is just 42, but the king feels very old. He has many regrets.
And the #1 record for this final week of October 1962 is none other than The King.
2 years after Elvis Presley returns from the army, he arranges to bring a young woman he met in Germany back home to Graceland. She is beautiful. She will eventually become his wife. She is just 17. Her name is Priscilla.
I don't believe it.
Priscilla Beaulieu is the daughter of an Air Force captain. Elvis tells her family that she'll be carefully chaperoned at Graceland and even promises to make Priscilla his wife. After she moves in, the fans are told the young couple have a pure relationship, that Priscilla is saving herself for marriage. But it will be 5 long years before Elvis makes good on his promise.
He did not pay a lot of attention to her. She became one of his trophies. I mean, you know, I think the easiest thing he could have done is put her in a glass case, you know. Came out and take her out and dust her off every once in a while, put her back in.
Elvis and Priscilla rarely spend any time together, partly because Elvis is busy living the life of a Hollywood matinee idol. Almost as soon as he explodes on the pop charts in the late 50s, he starts making movies. This is the screen test that launches his career. He lip-syncs to his own recording of Blue Suede Shoes, and if you look closely, you can see there are no strings on that guitar.
What you wanna do, but honey, lay off them shoes and don't you step on my blue suede shoes.
In his early pictures, Elvis shows a real flair for acting. But now in the mid-60s, his talent is being wasted, squandered in a string of movies featuring dumb plots, lots of girls, car songs, and a few fights. The formula works, and Elvis is the biggest box office draw in the land. But he's miserable.
He just drove him bananas. He had no control. He had scripts that were horrible. But Elvis was a control person. If he didn't have control, he didn't like it.
But there are some advantages to being Elvis Presley. Every Saturday night, there's a party at Elvis's Beverly Hills bachelor pad.
For the heck of it, one Saturday night, I just got this wild idea in my head, and I went around the house counting. And I counted the girls, and there were 7 guys in the room, 7 of us, not counting Elvis. There was 152 girls.
Elvis's parties in Beverly Hills were quite strange by Hollywood standards. There was no alcohol ever served, and when the ambitious models or starlets, all 10s and stunning, would come up to the house, they would be served potato chips, cookies, soft drinks, maybe iced tea, and there would be no drugs around, no marijuana, no cocaine, no LSD, and they would have a Sweet 16 party, basically.
The Memphis Mafia observes a strict protocol at Elvis's parties. None of the boys make a move on the women till Elvis makes his selection. Then the man who can get up on stage and drive thousands of females into a frenzy focuses all his energy, all that sexuality, on one woman.
When he was on, he was on. I mean, it was coming from within, you know, and he was putting out such a feeling to this woman. And by the time an hour or two of doing this with her, she forgot she was with Elvis Presley. She's with this wonderful, gorgeous man.
Meanwhile, Priscilla is ever faithful, keeping the home fires burning in the vast, empty, and increasingly lonely rooms of Graceland. Elvis thinks that's just the way it ought to be.
He was from the old school, where, you know, there's the woman that I adore. She's right here. She has a certain place in my life. She's on a pedestal. There is the occasional dalliance, but this woman is the one woman that I love, that I revere, that I cherish.
So there, in essence, was really 2 sides to Elvis Presley. The rock and rolling sexual buccaneer, which goes along with the position, and the Bible-raised, faithful husband or boyfriend. He was King Stud, and he was also a faithful partner.
As the quality of his movies goes downhill and Elvis grows more frustrated, he becomes increasingly dependent on prescription drugs, amphetamines to get him up for early calls, barbiturates to bring him down after a long shooting day. And he becomes obsessed with metaphysics, spiritualism, reincarnation. He reads every mystical book he can find.
The books that he read were very metaphysical. They were The Leaves of Moya's Garden. He quoted constantly from the Bible. He would sit and underline. We would just read for hours and hours upon hours.
In later years, Elvis will try his hand at faith healing. He will wander around a Memphis mortuary after dark and ponder the mysteries of the afterlife. But now, with the evangelical zeal of a Southern preacher, Elvis tries to enlighten and teach the multitude around him.
What does man gain? With all the toil that he toils under the sun, Joe? I don't know, Elvis.
It was odd because a lot of times the multitude would be all of these gorgeous models or starlets that have come up to the house to perhaps sleep with Elvis or advance their career, and instead of a quick drink and let's hop off to bed, he's reading the Bible to them.
All these girls were gathered around this coffee table, and Elvis started off sitting talking. The more he got into it, the more animated he got.
The sun rises, and the sun goes down, and hastens to the blaze.
And he had a cane, and he's raising that cane. And telling them stories about with Moses, and, with the staff, the blood, the river, everything, the locust. But when it happened, it was all right with them. They had Elvis.
It sometimes seems like a private joke with someone not in the room. A joke with his late mother, Gladys, perhaps. For the true Elvis is beginning to become distant. More of I, Elvis, in a moment.
Your house is so hot, not even your best friend will stay for a visit. So you run down to home base, where a helpful salesperson points you in the right direction. For not much money, you get the ceiling fan of your dreams, plus a free brochure that tells you how to install the thing. You throw a party, show all your friends your handiwork. They think you're some kind of guy. Home base. It's that simple.
People are saying yes to Toyota in record numbers and getting the year's best deals. Big savings on options, plus even bigger dealer discounts make saying yes easy.
I said yes, and my Toyota dealer saved me a lot of money.
Yes.
My Toyota dealer went out of his way to save me some money.
Right now, your Toyota dealer's putting it all together. Big savings, great deals, flexible financing, immediate delivery, but you've only got till Monday. So see your Toyota dealer today while he's still saying... Yes, we can.
Not every bird you see at your grocery store is a fresh Oregon-grown chicken. Some are out-of-state birds, which come from thousands of miles away. To make the trip, they may be frozen solid, then days later left to thaw and labeled fresh, right alongside Oregon fryers, which can go from farm to store in just one day. So for the freshest chicken, look for the Grown in Oregon label. Without it, you could be getting a totally different breed of bird.
With just one call to Ryder, you can reserve any size truck you want, order all your moving accessories, and arrange for a convenient pickup and drop-off at any of our 5,000 locations nationwide. In short, you can get everything you need to make even the toughest move easy. Ryder, we're there when you need us.
It happened in a town called Chowchilla, a school bus full of kids. Suddenly, something happened. The day 26 kids disappeared without a trace. Chowchilla. In the 50s, Elvis Presley has been the rebel, the outsider who blasted in the age of rock and roll. But in the 60s, while Elvis is busy making movies, there's a second revolution, the British invasion, headed by 4 Liverpool lads who idolize Elvis. In 1965, while the Beatles are taking America by storm, they visit Elvis, the man who inspired them in the first place, and a rock and roll summit is arranged. It is supposed to be a secret, but somehow word gets out. It is a night that changes history, and a night that is ominous for Elvis Presley, the rebel, as well. August 16th, 1977. Elvis Presley goes into his bathroom and suddenly suffers a seizure. Perhaps the defining moments of his life flashed before his eyes like so many scenes in an incredible movie. It is 1965, and the Beatles are absolute sensations. The biggest phenomenon since Elvis himself. They dominate pop culture the way Elvis did 8 years earlier. with a #1 single, a #1 album, and a #1 movie, all titled Help. Elvis's current movie, Tickle Me, is a flop, and it's been years since he made a real rock and roll record. Still, there's only one person the Fab Four really want to see while they tour America. And in August of '65, before playing the Hollywood Bowl, they call on Elvis at his gated Beverly Hills home.
There was thousands of kids outside the house that got leaked out. There was thousands all over the walls, the fences, everywhere.
John Lennon, Elvis Presley. Paul McCartney, Elvis Presley. George Harrison, Elvis Presley. And
all of a sudden, the Beatles are walking in the house. And it's like, you know, introducing royalty to royalty. One thing leads to another, and they come in, and the Beatles, being very, very shy people, were sitting there, and nobody said anything.
And they're just staring at him now. There's a moment of silence. As a matter of fact, it was a long moment of silence.
So finally, Elvis sits there, and he's nervous, and the Beatles are sitting there, and they don't know what to say.
Finally, he just looked at him, and he said, "Hey, look, if y'all are going to stare at me all night long, I'm going to bed."
I'm going to bed, man. Yeah, I was kind of hoping we could sit around and talk, maybe about music, maybe even jam.
John. And when he said that, they just went nuts. And, you know, because that was a dream for them. So then they got up and went by the piano, and they started singing. I mean, every one of us had said, boy, if we just had a tape recorder, that would have been fantastic.
I ain't got no magic, but I sure got a long way to go. Take it. I'm a long boy, I'm a long way from home. I'm a long boy, I'm a long way from home.
On the surface, it appears to be a light-hearted jam session. But the Beatles are painfully aware of Elvis's decline as the king of rock and roll. John Lennon is the Beatle who finally breaks the ice on this touchy subject.
Mr. Lennon cornered Elvis in one part of the house and said, well, Elvis, how come you don't cut any more rock and roll records like you used to? And Elvis replied, well, you know, it's my film schedule. It's kind of tight, but maybe I'll cut one soon just for kicks. Lennon replied, well, in that case, we'll buy that one. I'll bet it shook Elvis up a little bit. Lennon was just arrogant enough to sort of slap his face a little and say, Elvis, why aren't you making the records like you used to, the great records that made us want to be musicians? So come on, cut some rock and roll again.
I ain't got no matches, but I sure got a long way to go. Oh, yeah.
By the time they left, you know, they had said this was the greatest night, and Paul and John, in particular, had said, well, look, if you guys are not doing anything tomorrow, how about coming over to see us? And Elvis said, well, I'll try. Well, we knew he wasn't going to go.
A dream is born that night in the heart of Elvis Presley. A burning desire to get back to his rock and roll roots. It will take him 3 years to realize that dream. And by then, there will be other complications in his life. In 1967, Elvis finds himself under pressure to marry Priscilla.
He said that he was more or less talked into it by the colonel because he had made the promise to her father that if he would allow her to come and live at Graceland, that he would eventually marry her. Well, 5 and 6 years down the road, he pretty much had her, from what he said, and did not want to marry her.
Elvis is once again trapped in a role he doesn't want, an unhappy marriage.
He came to me one time and he said, Charlie, I think I've lost it. I said, lost what, Elvis? He said, these movie songs and everything, I think I've lost it. And I said, Elvis, I work for you, so anytime you want.
Anytime you want, day or night, I'll sit down at this piano, and you and I will sing, and we'll find that love and feeling.
Together, they searched for it, but for the inner Elvis, that loving feeling was an elusive emotion. More of I, Elvis, in a moment.
They're names on things that do what they're supposed to do. Names you find only in a Sears store. Names that are a promise. Craftsman, Die Hard, Kenmore. The promise is, you can count on me.
Why did you switch to Suave Super Stick deodorant?
My kid's big game, and I was out of deodorant, so I used my son's Suave Super Stick. Well, he couldn't have been any closer in the game or the stands, but my kid's team hung tough, and so did Suave. That's some powerful odor protection, and since I knew Suave cost less, I switched. Who'd have believed something that works so well could cost so little? Who'd have believed 10 innings?
Suave Super Stick deodorant. So effective, you won't believe the price.
Help me put this away.
Real country biscuits.
And country crock.
Real country taste.
This is helping?
You said put the country crock away.
Come spread real country taste with fewer calories and no cholesterol. Shed Spread Country Crock. It is the taste of the country.
Trouble with heartburn? Well, you could change your lifestyle. Or better still, reach for Rolaids. It works fast to bring 100% relief to millions. So maybe you can't change your life, but you can get relief. Rolaids spells relief.
When allergies come on this strong, Benadryl comes on stronger.
Elvis Presley had only two great loves in his life. The first was his mother Gladys, and fate dealt Elvis a cruel blow when he lost her, just as he was taking the world by storm, changing pop music forever. Sadly, the other great love of his life would also be taken from him, and that tragedy would start the long, slow spiral to his destruction. When Elvis Presley met Priscilla Beaulieu in Germany in 1955, he fell in love with a beautiful face and a little girl. But Elvis and Priscilla were never soulmates. They were never right for one another. And from the moment they came together, they were destined to hurt each other deeply.
He tried to mold her into his image of what the king's wife should be, with the black hair and the eye makeup and everything. And she went along with it because she was young and could be manipulated. But they really did grow apart.
For many reasons, Elvis and Priscilla are people on different paths. He has his movie career, she has Graceland, but it isn't enough for either of them. By 1968, when Elvis's movie contracts expire, he knows it's time to rock out. And when NBC offers him a Christmas